Alright, next page. So on these, again, we're just identifying the relationship and then setting up an equation. So for our first one, we're just focusing on two angles here. So on this one, we're just looking at angle 7 and angle 8. So that would be, so here's angle 7, and then here's angle 8. So something you might notice about these is that when you combine both of these form a straight line. So something that we know about straight angles is that they equal 180. And so that should clue you into the relationship name. So there's two different names for this. So something that we said was that both angles formed a straight line. So that would be a linear pair. So we're looking at a pair of angles that form a line. The next relationship name would be supplementary. So that's when angles add together to equal 180 degrees. Alright, so both names are true for this. The equation that you're going to set up, so we just talked about how straight angles equal 180 degrees, which means that when we take both of these angles here, we combine them, it should equal 180. So that's just what we're going to write in our equation. So angle 7 plus angle 8 equals 180. Alright, for the next one, we're looking at angle 2 and angle 3. Here's angle 2, here's angle 3. So the first thing I noticed about these is that they are kind of opposite from each other. So that should be your cue to think vertical angles. So vertical angles can also be called opposite angles or super angles. So anytime you have angles that are across from each other like this, I had two lines intersecting. So those angles that are across from each other or opposite each other will be vertical angles. So that's our relationship name. And then something we know about vertical angles is that they're always congruent. So when I'm setting up an equation, I should have two equal expressions. So angle 2 should be equal to angle 3. Alright, and then for the next one, we're looking at angle 5 and angle 6. So here's angle 5, here's angle 6. So this one's just like the first one. So I have two angles that, when combined, form a straight line. And I know that straight angles are 180 degrees. So I just have a linear pair, and you can also call them supplementary angles. Linear pairs are supplementary. Alright, and so the equation then would just be that those two angles, when you add them together, should equal 180 degrees. So angle 5 plus angle 6 equals 180 would be the equation for that. Alright, so for the next part, we're identifying a relationship, setting up an equation, solving it, and then using that value to find our missing angles. So take a look at the first one. I am just looking at angle 13 and angle 14. So we just talked about this. So two angles, two adjacent angles here that are forming a straight line are going to be a linear pair or supplementary. So that will be our relationship name, linear pair, supplementary angles. Alright, so the next part would be to set up an equation that represents that. So I know that these two angles, when added together, should equal 180 degrees. I know that the angle measure of angle 13 is 4x plus 11, and then the measure of angle 14 is 3x plus 1. So that's what I'm going to use in my equation. So angle 13, which is 4x plus 11, plus 14, which is 3x plus 1, should equal 180 degrees. Alright, so solving that out, combine like terms, so I have 7x plus 12, which is 180. Move 12 over to the other side. That should give you 168. And then divide by 7 on both sides. X should equal 24. Alright, and so if I want to double check this, I need to plug it back into my angle values and see what I get. So, measure of angle 13 was 4x plus 11. So instead of using x, I'm going to plug in 24. So 4x, so 4 times 24 plus 11 equals 107. So that would be this one over here. And then measure of angle 14 was 3x plus 1, so I'm plugging in 24. So when I substitute in for x, should get 3 times 24 plus 1 is 73. And then something that I should be thinking about to double check is that do these angles equal 180? So when I add these together, I do get 180, which means that my algebra checks out and that this all makes sense. Alright, so looking at the next one, these two angles form a larger angle. Something that you should notice about this diagram would be the square arc right here. So anytime you have one of those, you should be thinking right angles or 90-degree angles. So anytime you have two angles that add up to equal a 90-degree angle, we're talking about complementary angles. So that's going to be our relationship name. And then our equation, we said that this angle 4x plus this angle, which is just 36 degrees, should equal 90 degrees. So that's going to be what we write for our equation. So 4x plus 36 should equal 90 degrees. Alright, now I need to solve for x, so I'm going to move 36 over to the other side. That should give us 4x equals 54, and then dividing by 4 should give us 13.5. So if I want to double check this, I need to do the third part of this problem, which is using that variable value to find the missing angles. So I'm going to come over here and take my x value, which was 13.5, and plug that in. So for this first angle, 4x, I'm just going to do 4 times 13.5, which should give us 54 degrees. And then this angle, we don't have to do any math, it tells us it's 36 degrees. So now that I know the measure of both angles, I can add them together. It should make sense that they equal 90 degrees. So if you add 36 plus 54, do you get 90 degrees? Answer would be yes, so we know that we've done our algebra correctly. Alright, for the next one, we have 3 entire angles here. We have angle DEG, we have angle GEF, and then we also have angle DEF, which we know is a straight angle, which equals 180 degrees. So that means that we are looking at a linear pair or supplementary angles. Okay, so now to set up our we know that these two angles, when added together, have to equal 90 degrees. So we'll write down the first angle measure, which was 18x minus 9. So we have 18x minus 9. And then I need to add that to my other angle, which was our 4x plus 13. And then we know that needs to equal 180. Alright, so now I just need to do some algebra. So combine my terms, 18x plus 4x is going to give us 22x, and then negative 9 plus 13 is 4. Move the 4 over to the other side, I'll get 176. And then divide by 22 on both sides. So x should equal 8. Now I need to plug it back in. So I'm going to take my x equals 8 here, substitute that into both of these angles and see what I get. So for angle DEG, I have 18x minus 9, so that'll be 18 times 8 minus 9. And that should give us 135 degrees. And then the other angle, 4x plus 13. So now I'm going to take 4 times 8 plus 13. And that should give us 45 degrees. And then when you're looking at this, you should think, okay, this angle plus this angle needs to equal 180 degrees. So plug it into your calculator, so you get, it does equal 180, so we know we've done our algebra, and we know we're good there. Alright, on this angle, you might notice we have another square arc, so that means we're looking at a right angle, a 90-degree angle. So we know that we need to combine these angles to equal something larger. So these two angles are part of our 90-degree angle, which means that if I combine them, they should equal 90. So our special relationship name for that would be complementary angles. Complementary just means you have two angles, or any angle, you can have 25 angles that add together to equal 90 degrees. So anytime you have angles adding to equal 90, you have complementary angles. Here we have two, so we have this angle, which would be x, and then our other angle is 2x minus 3. So that's going to help us set up our equation. So I'm going to take this angle, x, and then our other angle, which is 2x minus 3, should equal 90 degrees. Alright, combine my terms. I have 3x minus 3 equals 90. Add 3 to both sides. And then divide by 3 on both sides. So x should equal 31. Now to double check this, I need to plug it back in. So I'm going to substitute 31 degrees for my x values in my angle. Alright, so this one here is just x, so if I substitute x for 31, then it's just plus 31 degrees. And then for this one I have 2x minus 3, so I have 2 times 31 minus 3. So that should give us, let's see, 62 minus 3 would be 59. So 59 degrees, and then if you want to make sure that your values are correct, we said that these two angles should equal 90 degrees. So 59 plus 31 equal 90, it does. So we know we're looking at complementary angles, and we know that our values are correct. Alright, on this next one we have a little bit more going on here. So I see that I have a right angle here, which means that I should be looking at a 90-degree angle on this side. And then I also have a straight line. And so I know that if this angle here was 90 degrees, then I know that these two angles combined should also equal 90 degrees. And so the equation we're going to write is going to be surrounding 6x and 4x. And so I know that those are going to equal 90 degrees. So I'm looking at complementary angles here. So angle DEG and then angle GEF are complementary angles. If you wanted to talk about maybe the relationship between, let's say HED and then DEF, we would have supplementary angles. We're just going to write the equation that surrounds our 6x and 4x. So we're just going to call this complementary angles. Alright, and anytime I have complementary angles, I know that the two smaller ones should add together to equal 90. So I have this measure, which was 6x plus this one, which was 4x. And that should equal 90 degrees. So combine those, I got 10x equals 90, x equals 10, or 9, sorry. Yeah, 9. So once you find your x value, you need to plug that back into our angles. So instead of 6x, I need to substitute 9. So I have 6 times 9. So 6 times 9 is going to give us 54. So that's 54 degrees here. And then 4 times 9 is 36. So do these two angles do these two angles added together equal 90 degrees? They do. So we know our algebra is good here. Alright. So this next one, you should see 3 angles here. So I have angle ABC, I have angle CBD, and then I have a straight angle ABD. We know this straight angle equals 180 degrees, so we're looking at a linear pair and supplementary angles. Alright, I know that our angle CBD, which is 8x plus 46, plus the angle in blue here, angle ABC, 5x minus 22, should equal 180 degrees. Alright, so just solving that out, combine my terms, so I have 13x, and then 46 minus 22 will be 24, equals 180. Subtract 24 on both sides. 13x equals 156, and then divide by 13 on both sides. So x should equal 12. Alright, and then we're going to substitute, make sure we did our algebra right. So 5 times 12 minus 22 should be 38 degrees. And then over here we have 8x plus 46. We're going to substitute 12. 8 times 12 plus 46 should equal 142. And then just double check, do 142 plus 38 equal 180. Then we know we've done our algebra right. Alright, and so kind of scaling back and looking at all these, just make sure when you're looking at the diagram, you're noticing something important that tells you something about the relationship name, and then once you find the relationship name, that'll help you set up an equation. You set up an equation, then you need to solve for your variable, and then substitute it back into your missing angles to find their values. Alright, so for this next part doesn't give us any diagrams, but it tells us something important. So angle A and angle B are complementary. We know that when angles are complementary, they should add together to equal 90 degrees. So here we're just solving for x and finding angle A and B. So angle A equals 11x plus 24, and then angle B equals equals x plus 18. And we know that equals 90 degrees. So now we just have to solve. So I have 12x, 11x plus 1x is going to give us 12x, and then 24 plus 18 gives us 42 equals 90 degrees. Subtract 42 on both sides, so I'll have 12x equals 48. And then divide by 12 on both sides. So x should be 4. Alright, so coming up here, I can fill in my blanks. So x equals 4. Now I need to plug them back in, find our angles. So I need to substitute x into my angle. So x equals 4. So let's see. 11x plus 24 is our measure of angle A. So I need to substitute in 4. So it's going to be 11. Alright, so 11 times 4 plus 24 is going to be 68. And then angle B, which was x plus 18. So we just have 4 plus 18, which is going to give us 22. And now we need to make sure that these equal 90 degrees, like our statement said over here. So 68 plus 22 is indeed 90 degrees, so we know that we've checked out. So we'll go and put that into our blanks here. So measure of angle A we found was 68 degrees. And then angle B we said was 22 degrees. Put that there. Alright, and then the next one works very similarly. So we don't have diagrams, but it tells us something important. So angle A and angle B are supplementary. So we know that these, when added together, should equal 180 degrees. Alright, so we'll go ahead and set up our equation. So angle A is 2x minus 20. And then angle B is 3x plus 5. We're going to add these together and set them equal to 180. We'll go ahead and solve. So combine my terms, 3x plus 2x is going to give us 5x, and then negative 20 plus 5 will give us negative 15 equals 180. Moving 15 on both sides. So I have 195 equals 5x. And then I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. And so x should equal 39. Alright, so if x equals 39 degrees, then let's substitute that value into our angles and see if they still add together to equal 180. So angle A was 2x minus 20, so instead of x, I'm substituting 39, so we have 2 times 39 minus 20, and that should equal 58, and then for angle B, I had 3x plus 5, so I'm substituting in 39, so 3 times 39 plus 5, it's going to be 122. And so now we need to double check if 122 plus 58 equal 180. So we know these equal 80, so we know our math checks out. And so now angle B, 122 degrees, and then angle A will be 58. Alright, so we kind of talked about how up here we were recognizing something important from the diagram, but we know coming down here we don't actually need to have diagrams as long as we know what important things we should be noticing. So in both problems we knew either we were talking about complementary or supplementary angles, so that helped us set up an equation to solve and find our values for our missing angles. All right.